Hey everybody, it's Jeff here from Jazzwire. So we've got something a little bit different this week. I did this a couple weeks ago. I shared with you one of the Jazzwire lessons from behind the paywall in Jazzwire. So now, by way of description, if you've been listening to me at all over the months and years, you hear me talking about Jazzwire. What is Jazzwire? Jazzwire is a subscription platform. We have hundreds of adult students from 25 different countries working together. Now, what do we do behind the paywall? Good question. And by the way, what is that, the paywall? It's $50 a month. So it's not the cheapest subscription out there. I promise you it is the best subscription out there. Talk to anybody that has been inside Jazzwire. They'll let you know there's serious education going on. Myself and other faculty working with you all the time. Okay, so now what goes on? So we work on 3 songs at any given time. So we work on a novice tune. So we're starting in the novice group, the green community, on How High the Moon this week. We're starting on Green Dolphin Street in the red community. We're working on the Oscar Pettiford tune, Tricketism, in the advanced blue community group. Each song we stay with for 3 weeks, so we scaffold the lessons. We start at the beginning. The next week, we check in on your work. Through the whole week, we're checking in on your work inside Jazzwire. And then we add a little bit more. We add a little bit more, like all good teaching. We don't just give you a fire hose on lesson 1. That's terrible. That's not good teaching. That's not how it's done. So what I want to give you this week is the first lesson that we're doing on Green Dolphin Street. So there's going to be some cool things for you here. If you really want to know what goes on inside Jazzwire, of course, subscribe. But how about the free trial? Yeah, hang out for a month, see all the lessons. Way over 1,000 lessons inside Jazzwire right now. So let's jump in and check out the first lesson on Green Dolphin Street. Hope you enjoy it. Hey there, Red community. Welcome to the lesson this week. So let's dig into this really, really classic tune. It's called On Green Dolphin Street. You've heard this many, many times from Miles Davis and pretty much everybody else. It's a great standard tune from that sort of era of standard tunes. But this particular one has so many cool architectural moments in it, harmonic moments, that make it something that jazz musicians really enjoy playing. So let me go over this super quick. I'll play the melody for you, which you've probably heard, but maybe you've never thought about it in this context. So the first 4 measures, well, as you see on the lead sheet, A, B, A, C. So the form 32 measures, 8 times 4, 8, 8, 8, 8. We have this first section that right at the top of the tune, something different, and then that first section again, and then something different. The A sections that happen twice. We have these chords over a pedal. So we're pedaling the root. Often the pedal tone is the 5th, but we pedal the root through there, and we have chords planing over top. Yes, planing is a word. We get it from impressionistic music like Debussy. And planing are chords that are sort of, shifting around, moving around, kind of like turning a crystal in the sunlight or something, and how that one object gives us different things from different angles. Planing, harmonic planing. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. We don't have that in most standards. So cool. So half of this song is that planing. So first 8 measures, planing. Next 8 measures, 2-5-1. And 2-5-1 in a different key, up a minor third, kind of slick. Third 8 measures, the planing business again. Last 8 measures, we get these cool minor 2-5s, a bunch of 2-5s, and specifically minor 2-5s. And what's happening in the last 8 is a lot like a Benny Golson song called Whisper Not. So yeah, there's sort of a nice connection there. So we've got kind of these 3 compelling aspects of this song: the planing, the 2-5-1s, and then when the chords start moving quicker in minor 2-5-1s. That all adds up to being a pretty fun afternoon spent playing some jazz on this tune. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. So that's one, and it's a lovely melody. It's very memorable. A lot of folks play it Latin going to swing in the different sections too. So there's really a lot going on in this tune, and maybe you haven't sort of analyzed it that way or thought, why is it an interesting song? Why did Miles like to play it so much? These are some thoughts, and these are reasons that I like to play it. So let me play the song down for you. Let's get into a couple things. Right. So I hope you were able to hear some of those things, and maybe they kind of hit you a little differently than you had before. If this is a song you've played before or just enjoy listening to, there's a lot going on under the hood that maybe you weren't aware of. Now, this is the first of 3 lessons, as you know. We always do 3 lessons on a song, so we can really scaffold things, right? So we can get deeper and deeper as we go into it. So yeah, this is going to be a good one. So now let's look at the first 4 measures of the song. And this is interesting. We go from 2 measures of major to 2 measures of minor. Now, in the lesson next week, we're going to look at this a whole different way. But for right now, we'll look at it as it is on the sheet. Now, in the green community this week, we are working on How High the Moon. And that song, you probably know it. So I played the first 4 measures of How High the Moon. Then just now I played the first 4 measures of Ornithology, the song Charlie Parker wrote over the chord changes of How High the Moon. And the way you can think about that melody is it's 2 measures of major to 2 measures of minor, tonic minor. Exactly what we see here. So kind of interesting, this tonic major going to tonic minor. It's a really interesting sound that we hear some, but not a ton. And then what happens from here, the planing part, is what happens over the next 8 measures. Let me meet you at the piano here in a second. So what I'm talking about is how in the first 2 measures, we go to major, then we go to minor, and then how, I'm just going to play triads in my right hand, and I'm just going to play the bass note in my left hand. All you're going to hear is E flat in my left hand, and what you're going to hear in measures 5, 6, 7, 8 are those triads. So let me just do triads the whole way. Here's what it sounds like. Major triad. Minor triad. Now we go down. So just simple triads. Didn't even have 7ths in there. Root, position, chords, right? And so those moving chords over that static harmony is really, really slick. Now, these chords are descending in half steps. So that's something we see a bit in jazz, but atypical. And when it happens, it's a little tritone sub that just happens for, a beat or 2 here and there. So we don't too often see a bunch of descending chords like this. So interesting architecture for us to play over and for us to learn to play over. So we're going to dig into what to do with that right now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a loop of the first 8 measures. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. See if you can, sort of figure out my approach. And I'm talking specifically about the notes that I'm choosing. I'm going to play the first 8 over and over. All right. I thought that sounded pretty good. I could imagine doing something like that on a gig. I have done something like that on a gig. I was literally playing the triads. The triad for the first two measures, then the triad of each chord. It really works great. So what I'm going to suggest is see if you can kind of lock yourself into really being able to play these planing chords. Play them exactly as they are here. It's easy for this to become a chromatic mess. I often hear a lot of otherwise pretty good, intermediate or better players tripping over themselves on this tune. And I get why. These chords are atypical, for one, and we try to get a little clever with them. Here's the thing. The chords are atypical, which means they are clever already. Getting double clever is sort of like a double negative in language where it swings us back and we didn't actually say anything. So when you've got chromatic chords and then you think, ooh, I better be clever, and you start doing chromatic things, it becomes a mess and it's not clear and it's not what you intend. So actually when the chords are clever, that's when you be simple. And it really, really kind of works out really, really nicely. So I was picking just the chord tones, right? And by chord tones, I mean triad notes. How about this? I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. I don't really want to because I want you to practice that. So promise me you'll practice that and then I'll jump ahead. Promise? Okay, good. Thank you. How about this? What about if we took those triad notes and allowed ourselves an upper neighbor, a diatonic upper neighbor? So the root up to the second, back down to the root. Third, fifth. Sounds like this. You've got some practice to do, don't you? Yeah, to get that just right and to get it in time and now to make music. So you can see, so that's jumping ahead. I want to make sure, can you do 4 or 5 loops with just the triad, no neighbors, and nail it? When you can do that, go on to this. Let me improvise. I'm just going to loop the first 8 using the triad and upper neighbor. So you notice, this is not a scale approach. This is a chord tone approach. And now what we're doing is applying a melodic device to chord tones. So it's sort of this hybrid thing of using chord tones, using the changes, using the arpeggios, but now we're kind of getting into the melodic realm. Not talking about scales. Okay, here we go. All right. I could spend half an hour on that right now and not even come close to wearing that out. There is so much there, and it really works so nicely over the planing, over that pedal tone that we have in the bass. That is a big deal approach. So for most of you that have played this song, these are the measures that you don't sound so good on. If that is happening, if there's a part of this song that's a little weak, that's probably the part. Measures 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you have an absolute plan forward. This is going to be good. Cool. So that's what I want to give you to work on. Play the whole tune. What's happening in the 3rd and 4th line of the tune? 2, 5, 1s. You've got some vocabulary, you know chord tones, you've got some approaches. I love how the melody includes a flat 9 and a sharp 9 though. Look at the 3rd line. flat 9, sharp 9. That's pretty slick. So another reason that this tune is a little hipper than some is the melodic choices are a little further afield. They're not just roots and thirds and fifths like so many standards or show tunes. And now, the last 8 of the tune, see if you can find the 2-5-1 moments, the 2 5s. So there's 2 5s that lead to 1. You probably see 4 from the end, a 3-6, 2-5-1. And I wouldn't fault you for saying it's a 2-5 and another 2-5 and 1. Same, that's good. So in the last section, marked C here, that's what I want you to be looking for. So turning you loose and especially focusing on those first 8 measures, which of course is also the third 8 measures, half the song is this. When you get good with triads and upper neighbors and being really diligent about where you are in the form. Are you in the 5th measure or the 6th measure? That's really important because they're a half step apart. No chromatic mess, right? So we're going to really clean things up and make you sound confident and strong on this. This is cool. And we have 2 more lessons on the tune coming up. All right, Red community, I'll see you inside. Let me do some playing for you. Hey there. Well, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. And now the important thing to remember is that the folks that listened to that lesson are going to be working on it. Here's the thing. Inside Jazzwire, the point is don't work on it alone. When I was at the University of North Texas, where my son is right now studying jazz, you don't just live in your own bubble and never talk to anybody and never get other input. No, you talk to your friends, you hang out, you compare notes, the Socratic way of learning things. So the amazing thing is inside Jazzwire, you'll post your work. You'll see all your other friends inside the Red community posting their work, asking questions, making comments, learning together as you go along. And of course, checking in with myself or the rest of the faculty 20 times during the week if you want to, asking questions, fine-tuning, letting me listen to your work. It's really, really powerful. I hope I'll see you inside Jazzwire. Thanks for tuning in.